Good morning, Wally. How you doing?
Good morning.
We are here at a continuing education conference for attorneys. Why did you decide to come here?
Well, this is part of what I do. I spend all of my practice, or virtually all of my practice, defending individuals who are accused of driving under the influence of alcohol or controlled substances.
So this is really an area of specialization for you.
I wouldn't call myself a specialist. I'd call myself perhaps more studied in this area.
And this is a pretty technical area of the law, isn't it?
This is, I think, the most technical area of the law, with the possible exception of securities law, which I wouldn't touch. But for any kind of normal practice, this takes an additional level of education that is unparalleled in any other fields.
Is that because of all the science involved and the breathalyzers and the blood tests?
Absolutely. You start off on a DUI case, and they're not just a case of one individual being arrested and looking at traditional defenses. We have to go into the books, and for those of us who are a little bit less facile in the sciences, this becomes a challenge. So it's a lot of work to read up on all the different possible defenses and all the other physiological things that happen in a human body.
What motivates you to want to help people who are arrested for DUI?
This is one of the few crimes that ordinary people, moms, pops, presidents, vice presidents, priests, judges, lawyers, doctors, everyone is at some point in their life, if they consume alcohol or prescription drugs or perhaps even non-prescribed drugs, this is something that they may encounter, and these are regular people.
And there's such a stigma now. We hear a lot of political talk about cracking down on drunk drivers, and the irony is, as you say, it's often just regular people. What kind of punishments do people face in the state of Nevada for a DUI?
Well, it's a three-tiered approach, and indeed is becoming more. What happens in the initial offense, although not as serious, it's a serious offense, is a minimum of 2 days in jail, or 48 to 96 hours of community service. You can, however, serve up to 6 months in jail for a first offense.
Wow. How often does that happen?
Well, the 6 months is less frequently than we'd hope, less frequently than that might be the case. The norm is on the low end of that, but still, the experience of going to jail for the normal and let's call them non-criminal is extremely unsettling.
Sure, that would be very scary to me, absolutely. Now, when we talk about DUI, we're often thinking of alcohol, but it could also be drugs, as you say, illegal drugs or prescription drugs, right?
Absolutely, and this is one of the critical distinctions. I've had, in my experience, a large number of individuals who are arrested, who are prosecuted, and who are, hopefully due to my intervention, not convicted of driving under the influence of prescription drugs. Officers are spring-loaded to arresting anyone who has medication in their car.
Why is that?
I think the issue has been that, well, first off, I know there's federal funds that are made available to cities, municipalities, and to police departments for the purpose of investigating and prosecuting instances of driving under the influence. The concept of drugged driving is one that is only now beginning to emerge. So we're starting to see a greater influence, a greater emphasis on stopping individuals who may be under the influence of drugs. We'll put drugs in quotation marks because many times it is medication that otherwise they would be lawfully entitled to consume, and indeed their doctors want them to consume.
Right, so I shouldn't have a false sense of security that, well, my doctor prescribed it to me, so there can't be anything illegal about it.
No, absolutely not. And in Nevada, it's particularly onerous because of a case that came out several years ago, which indicates that there's a very small window of opportunity for an individual to say, oh, I feel bad, I feel a little bit woozy or unsettled now, I better stop. The Nevada Supreme Court almost set aside that argument, so it's very difficult to do this for the layperson to defend themselves capably in this area.
Well, you sound like you're very up on the case law. Well, if I get arrested in the state of Nevada for a DUI, why should I give you a call?
Well, what you need to know is that this is not a simple process of defending someone. It is very easy to hang out a shingle and to say that you defend people for DUIs. In actual case, the crime is so complex because of the various levels of supposed criminality. an individual's statement to having consumed a couple drinks may form the basis of an arrest. However, that is not by itself a statement that is inculpatory or a statement that shows that you're guilty. So you need someone who actually does a lot of these cases, who can look into the background, can look into the process, starting with the officer's stop of the vehicle and ending with the chemical testing.
What can you tell me about your background and experience?
Oh, my background is about the last 25 years I've been doing this, but my experience is that I do almost 100%, let's say 90% DUI defense. The rest of it is criminal defense of one kind or another. My background, many years ago I went to college at the Air Force Academy and graduated, went to law school 22 years ago. So it's been an interesting journey from there to here.
Why do you think it's important for someone to hire an attorney who has experience in the area?
This is, again, one of the more complicated fields of practice. If you're not up on the defenses, if you're not up on the latest case law, you will be steamrollered by a prosecutor who does know those. And so for that particular reason, more than any other, the idea of hiring competent and, more important, educated defense counsel is one that's going to keep you in good stead.
If I'm arrested for a DUI in Nevada and I don't want to go to trial, could you help me?
Well, yes, sure. A lot of cases are negotiated before trial. But what we need to remember is that negotiations often are ineffective unless we prepare to go to trial. Once we begin the process of defense, which means that we are going to begin the process of doing motions, of doing negotiations with the prosecutor, the prosecutors are faced with the alternative of spending a lot of time on this case that may not result in a conviction, or of looking at the possibility of a negotiated plea. A negotiated plea would be something to a careless driving or a reckless, or perhaps something less than that. More importantly, the idea of walking into a courtroom for the first time. This is not something that the layperson is familiar with or comfortable with, and for that reason we have to, I think in most cases, you need to consult competent attorney. Now I like to consider myself and believe that I am competent in this particular area, but the idea of not going to trial is actually quite common. You need to argue and you need to negotiate, however, from a position of strength. And that's what we do, is we make if you will, a full court press until we get to a situation where the prosecutor, if possible, will reduce the charge.
And I would imagine in your 20-plus years of practice that you got to know some of these prosecutors that ultimately you're going to be negotiating with.
Oh, certainly. We have, in Reno, where I do a great deal of my work, and in some of the smaller counties in the north, these prosecutors they're friends or colleagues. They're not. That doesn't mean that I'm going to roll over or they're going to roll over. We all enjoy a good fight, but we all understand that when I walk into a trial, or when I walk into a courtroom, or even when I take a case, that there's a certain level of attention that I'm going to pay, as opposed to someone who has no experience in defending these. And so based upon that, based upon my reputation, I feel that my results that I obtain from my clients are much better than the norm.
You know, Wally, times are tough for a lot of people right now with the economic downturn. If I'm arrested for a DUI, why shouldn't I just take a quick guilty plea and get it over with?
The implications and the ramifications of a DUI conviction are significant. A first offense DUI has relatively lower penalties. However, a second offense DUI in this state is a minimum of 10 days in jail. A third offense is a felony in the state of Nevada, carrying a prison term of 1 to 6 years. And if it happens a fourth time, if you're convicted of a felony and subsequently are arrested again, you could face up to 15 years in prison. These are significant penalties. It is vital to defend vigorously until all defenses have been exhausted, and the implications for money are incredibly significant. You can estimate that anywhere from $12,000 to $15,000 will come out of your pocket over the next 7 years after you are convicted of a DUI. Why? You have to pay additional insurance costs, and those the raising of your insurance fees to your automobile insurance are going to be significant to you as well. It's a long-term event, and because of that, you need to defend vigorously.
And it goes on your record. If you go to look for jobs in the future, employers are going to see that you had the DUI conviction.
Absolutely, and the effects if you're in the military, for example, are significant. Many people have lost their jobs because they have been arrested and convicted of DUI, and they don't realize the implications when they do this. It is not a minor offense.
So bottom line, Wally, if somebody is looking at this video right now on the website, why should they pick up the phone and give you a call?
Well, they should pick up the phone to call an attorney, but I like to believe that I have an ability to communicate with my clients, to explain to them what they need to have done, and to finally act in their best interest at all stages of the proceedings. I always invite clients in, I speak with them, and many of them I tell them, listen, go away, think about it. I get about an 80 to 90% comeback because they realize that I do know what I'm talking about.
All right, so no hard sell then. Well, Wally, thank you very much for speaking with me today.
Thank you.